small factory town, but I'm not going to talk about its factory. I'm the leader of the youth club. The boys and girls call me Doc. Don't ask me why. They're just fond of giving nicknames. In a club like this, you've got to cater for every taste. Sports and games are popular, of course. Then we have discussion groups on all sorts of subjects. Meet every type among our members, too. There's Jock, the life and soul of the party, never serious for 2 minutes. And Archie, better known as Smiler, or the laughing cavalier of the dartboard. Harry, our table tennis champion, a shade too fond of winning, perhaps, still a good lad. Then there's Sandy, our swing fan, addicted to the clarinet, and a girl called Margaret. Margaret, keen on country dancing, and, well, Sandy. I've always been keen on music, and I had ideas about starting a music group, but no one seems to be interested. A friend of mine called Bill Ross is a very good amateur pianist, and he said he'd help me get it going. It didn't seem the right moment to talk about music. Harry was giving Jock his usual pasting at table tennis. Jock doesn't care if he loses, but he thinks it's time someone knocked the stuffing out of the champion. Well, it wasn't to be Jock. When Jock had finished telling Harry just what he thought of him and of table tennis, I introduced them to Bill Ross. Harry was finding it difficult to get partners and challenge Bill to a game. Finally, Bill agreed to be led to the slaughter. Harry started off in his usual confident style. 10 minutes later, he wasn't looking at all happy. For Bill was giving him the game of his life. Jock was delighted, of course, and frankly, I was rather pleased myself. However, at match point, Harry pulled out everything he knew. He was still champion, but Bill was well in from then on. Then I had another bit of luck. Charlie, one of the younger boys, rather fancies himself as a pianist. He plays by ear and occasionally strikes the right note. This was my cue, and I asked Bill if he'd give us a tune. The others backed me up. Jock reckoned that anybody would sound good after Charlie. So Bill took over.
Well, what's it to be, I wondered? Beethoven or Boogie? I like both myself. While they were arguing about what they wanted next, I drifted into the Rachmaninoff C minor piano concerto. I chose it because I thought some of them might have heard it before. I was right. Jock and some of the others had heard it in the film Concerto, but they were surprised to hear it was written long before Hollywood got hold of it. Then Margaret said she'd heard Sandy play it on his clarinet. Well, that sounded interesting, and I was just going to ask her more about this Sandy when he came into the club.
Sandy had been to the Palais that night with Betty. but they hadn't been able to get in. He'd gone especially to hear a band from London, featuring Al Jackson, a last word in hot clarinet players, I'm told. Sandy takes his swing music very seriously, so he wasn't in the best of tempers. Archie couldn't tell him much about what was going on. A fellow can't listen to music and play darts. Then Margaret asked him to come over and listen to Bill Ross. Or perhaps she only wanted to get him away from Betty. Whichever it was, he wasn't having any. Meanwhile, Bill was doing fine.
They'd asked me to play some more of the concerto. I'd brought along a recording of it, so I thought I'd let them hear the real thing. I warned them, though, it wouldn't sound so hot on their portable. Still, it'd be better than my efforts on the piano. Rachmaninoff went down very well. They asked for more. Another concerto, please. But I had already picked the encore. The fun of these programs, situation. Poor Archie. It wasn't his evening. Sandy asked me what the record was, and I told him it was one of Al Jackson's. I gathered Margaret and Betty were rivals. Strange, the attraction these clarinet players have. Anyway, he asked me if I'd any more clarinet records. I had. I slipped it on without announcing the title. It was the slow movement of the Mozart Clarinet Quintet. Mozart wasn't for Sandy. This long-haired stuff was all very well, but give him Al Jackson every time. Well, here he is, I said. The laugh was on Sandy, all right. Jock started to rhythm, and Sandy tried to get out of it by saying that he preferred Al Jackson playing jazz. I weighed in on his side. Some of the jazz boys, I said, are first-rate musicians. I think Sandy was surprised to find himself agreeing with me. Margaret said that she liked the swing record best, but felt that she'd soon get tired of it. Jock plumped for the Mozart, but this was just another dig at Sandy. Betty wanted to know if jazz was music. Why not, I replied, if it's good jazz. And then Doc chimed in. I guess he thought they'd had enough for one evening and he didn't want to overdo it. But I wasn't finished yet. They always wound up the evening with a dance. Would I mind playing? Well, well, who'd start a music group? The following week, I started them off with Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite. I'd written off Archie as a total loss. He just wouldn't be parted from his beloved dartboard. Once again, I had no set program, and I was rather pleased when they asked me if I had any more concertos. I got the Grieg piano concerto, as I thought it might appeal to them. I began with part of the slow movement. When it was time for discussion, I asked Sandy how he liked it. He didn't. He said the trouble with straight stuff was that it had no kick, no rhythm. Well, the best reply I could make to that was to play part of the last movement. No rhythm, eh? I'm afraid the laugh was on Sandy again, but I felt sure we'd win him over in time. The only snag was that we weren't getting the best out of the music on the portable. Easy, said Jock. Let's go out and buy a radiogram. But it wasn't such a crazy idea, and I suggested we might raise the money by giving a concert. Some of them were a bit doubtful about this, but not Jock. There was plenty of talent. We had a singer, a conjurer, a dancer, and an impersonator. A comedian in Jock himself, and, of course, Sandy on his clarinet. Then Willie put a damper on the proceedings. The cheapest radiogram would cost about £70, but there was no holding Jock. We could buy the parts quite cheaply and build it ourselves. Fine, I said, but we'll still need someone to put it together. Well, it appeared they had an expert. Yes, Archie had come into his own at last.
Soon rehearsals were in full swing. Jock had written a sketch. Betty and Ian were assisting him in it. He assured